If you've been online at all in 2024, you've probably heard about owners abandoning their EV trucks and going back to gas. A survey claimed that 29% of EV owners were doing exactly that. There's a lot more to it than what's first led on. But I got a bit of a secret to disclose. I could have been one of those 29% this year. What if I told you that I gave a gas truck as much of a second look as I did an EV truck? You're probably wondering why I would do such a ridiculously stupid thing, especially when I have an EV truck channel. Well, while truck shopping, I got this crazy idea and I decided to approach buying my next truck with a clean slate. I had a lot of worries and questions and concerns. I kept nothing off the table. Shouldn't similar fear, uncertainty, and doubt be concocted for all trucks? Because I decided this: if I could convince myself that a gas truck was superior, there was no way I would go back to an EV truck. But I had questions, and there were lots of issues. I'm certain that there are perfectly reasonable explanations for my concerns about dumping an EV truck and going back to a gas one that maybe I've overlooked. So please, throughout this video, let me know in the comments below if you can enlighten me on any of them. When I drive my current vehicle and go down a hill, or I'm slowing down, it makes more fuel. With a gas vehicle, I can't do this. Isn't there a way for a gas truck to recover power and re-burn it to make more energy? Gas truck guys, help me out on this one. Also, I know this must be wrong and probably put out there by some kind of anti-gasoline footster.
Totally righteous.
But I've heard that these trucks burn their fuel even when they're standing still. I mean, is that true? Why would a vehicle do this? What function does this have? Why can't it just use the gas when it needs to turn the wheels? Isn't that kind of wasteful and costly? What's the point of burning highly expensive gasoline when you're going down a hill? I need answers to this one. There must be a reason, because they do it. Maybe they don't, that this is some kind of fake news made up by the deep greeny people. I also heard that filling up gas trucks is expensive. Now, of course, everyone's gonna say that about something they don't like. So I had to keep an open mind. This had to be wrong. But it turns out that most gas trucks have a 36 US gallon tank. And at the current rate of $3.05 per US gallon, it would cost me almost $110 US, or about 145, 150 bucks Canadian for a full tank. The average 2024 US light-duty pickup combined mileage comes in under 24 miles a gallon, meaning a maximum range of 850 miles per 110 US or 145 bucks Canadian. That seems freaking expensive. For the past year and a half, I've filled up my EV truck overnight while I sleep for somewhere between, I don't know, 6 and 8 bucks, 8 to 10 bucks. Depending on how low it is, just by plugging it into the side of my house. According to what I found online, I was shocked to learn that ICE trucks cannot do this. How often do I have to go to these fueling stations? My bigger concern was finding out that many of these fueling depots shut down, often closed by 10 p.m. Earlier in some rural parts of Canada. What do I do if I need fuel at night and it's not open? What if there's an emergency and I'm almost out of gas and I've got to drive to a hospital on the other side of the province? What do I do then? Why don't they operate 24 hours a day like DC fast charging stations do? Shouldn't there be some kind of law? I heard from a guy who talked to his cousin's buddy who knew a guy who works at a gas station, and he posts on 4chan, and he says that most of them shut down on purpose at night, that it's a conspiracy to create a curfew to control the movement of the world's population. Anyway, you got to be careful what you find online and what you read on the internet. But anyway, there's another question about these gas stations, is what happens if the power goes out? Don't the fuel pumps need electricity to operate, which It's kind of ironic when you think about it. The same 4chan guy, he says that most of the gas stations don't even have generators, and they don't on purpose, to force you to buy gasoline during the day when it's in high demand. And if the power goes out, they can raise the prices up through the roof. But again, you got to be careful what you read online. He says that they have secret meetings, however, in a Detroit basement underneath a cheese shop. I thought that maybe to get around all of that stuff, I could store this liquid fuel in a large tank strapped on the side of my house so I can wake up every morning and just fill up. But the dealership told me that they don't think I can legally do that in my urban driveway. And the reason was that after further research, it seems this fuel is highly explosive, which I guess is why they call it an internal combustion engine. It hadn't triggered for me until right there. See, if I've gotten this straight, I drive around with liquid explosives sloshing around underneath my seat, and a pump shoots this dangerous juice into the engine chamber and generates a controlled blast, which then does a whole bunch of stuff and turns a big shaft that goes to another shaft, and after going through a bunch of gears and things, and then to another shaft, and to more gears, or something called a diff, which then turns more shafts and then moves the wheels, something like that. It seems like there's a really big process. But anyway, what's even scarier is that my buddy told me the particulates from all those explosions comes out a series of piping as fumes that are deadly if breathed in at any level of concentration. Like, I can't just leave my vehicle on in my garage. And it's also highly environmentally damaging, I guess. So you have to first clean piles of the toxic leftovers out of the spent explosives as much as you can with something called a catalytic thingy. And then through a muffling system thing, because it's also really loud. I mean, things are blowing up under your truck hood. So to ensure the sound of the explosions don't, cause windows to shatter and stuff like that, the muffling thingy has to be attached at all times. But it often falls off or rusts and has been known to start forest fires, and it can corrode and blow a hole through things. So I can't imagine this is all correct, so don't quote me on any of this, but I definitely read that I do have to replace these noise muffling things and pipes and the catalytic thingy according to the owner manual. But then I find out that most of my fuel, that liquid explosive that costs me $150 Canadian, most of it gets turned into heat. And then this big radiating apparatus gets rid of it. It's filled with, more toxic liquids that if you drink it, you'll die. So be careful. It's poisonous. And then you put it in this big thing, and then a fan turns off the same thing with all the cranks and stuff on a big belt that you have to replace a lot, I guess, that blows all the heat out. Is that right? I think I got it right. It just floats away. All the heat just floats away. But then someone else told me that only about 30% of all that expensive explosive liquid I just bought doesn't do anything at all. No, actually, it's the other way around. 70% of all that expensive explosive liquid that I just bought doesn't do anything at all. It's 30% of the explosive liquid does something. 70% does absolutely nothing. Something like that. It just burns and doesn't turn the wheels. So I just wanted someone out there to let me know if I got that right, because I'm confused. That seems really costly and wasteful. Look, everyone just said, Simon, you're just overthinking this. Just test drive. You'll never go back. Gas all the way. Once you get behind the wheel, man, and you feel the power, you'll get it. So I looked at a truck and I started to round up all the details. But when I asked the salesperson about other hidden costs, I was thinking about, taxes or hidden fees. They told me about something called regular maintenance. They mentioned engine oil. So you got to put oil into the chamber of the engine for all those moving parts and things make all this heat, and they rub, and it's metal, and it will seize up and explode. So you got to put lubricant, this oil, into the engine that needs to be pumped around by other pumps and things and filters and stuff to go all over the place to get the oil to move around and lubricate everything. And yeah, but I thought, well, isn't that going to get into the... Isn't that going to explode too? Like, how's it going to... Well, these gaskets and seals and things that stop the oil, and also the the coolant stuff that's poisonous. It's all poisonous. Everything's poisonous. But the poisonous shit that's flowing around there could go into something else, and that could explode and ruin everything. And they say, well, yeah, it happens quite a lot. But they have these gaskets and seals to kind of try to stop it, but they often fail. And sometimes your driveway will just be covered in oil and radiator fluid and coolant shit. So you got to keep an eye on that, and that's why you got to do this regular maintenance thing. But there's also the oil picks up all this crap from the engine, so you have to get oil filters, and then there's fuel filters, and then the thing that starts the whole explosion blasting, those spark plugs, which have wires that they don't last very long. And then you got that radiator fluid, the poisonous stuff, you got to check that. And then you got gasoline antifreeze for the winter. It's also very poisonous. It'll kill you, so don't drink it. And then there's some kind of timing belt, or sometimes it's a chain that needs replacing at some point, or the engine seizes up and the whole thing's ruined. So there's a bunch of other stuff. I don't understand, what is all this crap for, and why is it all necessary? How much does all this freaking shit cost, and how often do I have to do it? And then what happens to all the old oil and shit? Anyway, before I got a straight answer on that, it got worse, because these gas trucks, you're not going to believe this one. I'm leaving the EV world, I'm going to gas, and then they tell me these gas trucks only use their brakes to stop. I mean, what the fuck? I guess they don't have anything like regen. So all that really useful heat and friction that it doesn't do anything. It gets dumped onto the brake pads and discs and drums and shit. So they have to be replaced a lot. So that just seems caveman stupid to me, as far as I can tell, but I might be missing something, so let me know in the comments below of what's up with that. A guy with a friend clarified all this. He works as a mechanic for his brother who knows a guy who knew about brakes, and he said they definitely wear out way faster than my EV truck. So then, how's that better? But look, I took my buddy's advice. He said, gas all the way. You're just making all these assumptions. Just get in the gas truck and drive it. Never look back. And I took the gas truck for a test drive. But something was obviously wrong with this one, because I pushed the accelerator and it made this huge sound and it rumbled and shook and shit, but then it didn't really go. It was like something was waiting for something else, as if it was taking time for all the explosion stuff to go through all that other stuff that had to happen before any power went to the wheels. Are all stock gas trucks that laggy? Okay, look, I admit by this point that I was starting to get a bit worried about a gas truck purchase, but they tow further, they haul further, but I don't even tow anymore since I sold the business. I haven't done a lot of towing. I haul a lot, but I actually can haul a lot. And it hasn't affected my range very much. So I don't really have to go that far when I haul stuff, maybe 100, 200 kilometers at most. So trying to figure out where the benefit is, but then it didn't matter, because I was completely blown away when I read this on Reddit. According to a secret government operative working on the inside, he knows everything. It's called something like Q a lot or something. Anyway, gasoline has a dark secret. It uses child slave labor all over the world. And it's made from something called oil. It's not like from a coconut, not that kind. It's like a rare earth material that's deep underground. And entire countries have been exploited and gone to war to get this stuff. But even worse, once this huge process, it just rips up everything to suck it out of the ground. Once it's done, and things called wells, once they don't have anything left to suck out, they don't properly do anything with them. So after all the stuff sucked out, they just left to destroy the local environment and the watersheds, and water comes out of your tap, you can light it on fire and stuff like that. So it's not great. That's the one thing, but it's not the worst of it, because a deep state Q a lot guy, he's I never read his stuff, but this guy told me about it, says that this stuff has to be transported all over the place in ships that burn the same toxic explosives, but they don't do it with the muffling things and the catalytic things. They just pump out black shit all over the place. And once they get to where they're going, or they get it right from a place where they just tar and stuff, and they use like entire lakes worth of water to blast this tar stuff out of dirt or sand or something. Then they pump all of it over land through thousands of miles long of these pipes. And if it leaks or spills, it kind of kills everything, the fish and wildlife and stuff. But that's just the start of it. Then you have to explode more oil and gas to make electricity that it's used to make the refineries run. It doesn't go to a car like with an EV truck. You don't make the electricity and goes to a car. No, you blow up fuels to make the electricity that's then used by the refineries to refine the underground oil crap or the tar dirt shit into gasoline, which all goes into these refineries. And refineries are like these big toxic soup stations and are necessary to make the liquid volatile enough. And these are used to make the oil and gas that you then use to light on fire again. But you have to then get all this refined volatile gasoline to all the pumps all over the place. So you use more diesel and gasoline, big, huge trucks to move the explosives all over the place. The whole process creates a huge amount of problems, and there's something called dangerous goods routes for like deadly chemicals, rocket fuel, and this crap. I got to a place where, after careful consideration and looking at my EV truck and looking to move over to gas truck, and I just came to this place that for me was this reasonable conclusion that a gas truck was just simply batshit crazy. If you don't think it's batshit crazy, that's okay. I won't think you're batshit crazy. And I ended up making the decision to not go that way and bought Thor, my lightning flash. And I think overall, I'm comfortable with the decision. But what about that survey I talked about at the beginning? It says piles of folk are abandoning EVs and going back to gasoline. Although the survey got huge coverage on CNBC and Fox News and CNN and Canada's Globe and Mail, it all came from one survey by McKinsey and Company entitled Mobility Consumer Pulse Survey. And it wasn't exactly what it said, although it did find that about 29% of the EV owner respondents would be going back to internal combustion for their next vehicle. The same media conveniently overlooked the flip side, that 71% of EV owners that they found plan to buy an EV again. Survey size was like 4,000 or 5,000 people or something. So in that was so many hundred people that had EVs. It was a sample of a certain size. But the biggest number in the survey was never mentioned at all. And that was that over 38% of non-EV owners, people who've never owned an EV, said they plan to buy an EV as their next vehicle, which completely is dwarfing the 29%. But many say, well, you can't extrapolate one little survey of a small group to the entire world as far as that 38% is concerned. Well, if you can't, then you also can't extrapolate the tiny 29% of the small sample group to the entire world either. You can't have it both ways. But in any case, the sales numbers of 2024 and going into 2025 of all EVs, including EV trucks, is looking rather rosy. Not too shabby at all. And that's coming up in my next video. But in the meantime, I put a link to the June 2024 survey mentioned in this below so you can draw your own conclusions. If you found this content useful and entertaining, I so hope that you will consider helping me achieve the lofty goal of reaching 5,000 subscribers. Can you believe our community now? Our trucked up community reached 3,500 people, subscribers, that are part of this journey with me. My channel has also so many repeat viewers, but less than 15% of those repeat viewers decide to subscribe. So if you really want to support my little channel and let me keep going, because it's a tough slog, please click that like, subscribe, and bell notification icon, because it makes a difference, folks. And also, if you can, consider supporting me in the tiniest way, whatever works, with my flat tire and coffee fund with Patreon, or pick up one of my trucked up t-shirts below, because all of those things help feed the channel, get me the equipment I need, and make more of these types of videos. As always, thanks for watching.